Good morning, everyone. Do we have the Deputy Secretary Treasurer online? I don't see him there.
I don't believe he's logged in yet, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll wait for him to arrive. There I see him. So we'll begin. I'll just wait for Mr. Lewis to return. Good morning and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Ottawa under the Planning Act. This video conference is live streaming on YouTube. With me are my fellow panel members, Jocelyn Chandler, Stephen Lewis, Terrence Otto, and Martin Vervoort. My name is Fabien Poulin, and I will be chairing this hearing today. The procedure for this hearing will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with agenda items in a different order. Committee members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support or in opposition to each of the applications. Today, we will hear oral submissions from any interested parties. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. This declaration must be on file today before we can hear the application. Without it, I may have to adjourn the application or administer an oath if necessary. Can the coordinator confirm that we have received all the statutory declarations?
Mr. Chair, we've only received a statutory declaration for application number 1 for 231 Shinny Avenue.
Thank you very much, Madam Coordinator. This committee may ask for a brief presentation of the application followed by questions from members and submissions from the public. Please address your comments to the chair, starting with your name and spelling it if necessary, and your municipal address for the record. The committee limits presentations to 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at the chair's discretion. Finally, before we begin, we have 2 items of business to address. Does any member present need to declare an interest in any of the applications that are before us today or that are on the agenda of another committee panel? I don't believe we have any declarations of interest. And we have 2 minutes of the last public hearings to adopt. We have the minutes of February 3rd, 2021. All those in favor of adopting those minutes, please raise your hands. The minutes are adopted. And for February 17, all those in favor of adopting those minutes, please raise your hands. Thank you. We'll now hear the applications for this hearing, and we'll deal firstly with any items that may be adjourned. I don't believe there are any adjournment requests. Is that correct, Mr. Deputy Secretary?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to hearing the applications in order. We'll deal firstly with application number 1. It's having to do with 231 Shinny Avenue. Minor variance to permit a reduced corner side yard setback is proposed to construct a semi-detached dwelling on this property. The agent on file is Mr. Evan Garfinkel. Mr. Garfinkel, are you available?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, we do have a phone-in participant, so I just wanted to let them know that to unmute themselves, they need to do *6, and to raise their hand to speak at the application they're here for, they need to press *9 on their phone.
Thank you, Madam Coordinator. Mr. Garfinkel, good morning.
Good morning.
I believe we have a statutory declaration on file, so we do not have to administer an oath regarding the sign posting.
Okay.
Would you like to proceed and provide us with a brief description of your application, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't have a presentation prepared, but I can just run through quickly what we are asking for. So firstly, I represent the developer of the subdivision, Abbott Fernbank Holdings, and this application is on behalf of the builder, Fernbank Crossing Regional Inc. Fernbank Crossing is a subdivision that's been developing in phases since 2011-2012. This is a remnant lot that was used for the site construction trailer. The builder has now sold this lot as we've made our way through all of the phases of the subdivision. The zoning for this phase is a little bit outdated and zoning in the other phases of the subdivision is respect to a corner side yard of 3 meters. So the product that Fernbank Crossing EQ Homes sells now doesn't actually meet that corner side yard setback from the site triangle. So the relief we are requesting is for 3.9 meters, and it matches the corner side yard setbacks to the houses that are on both sides of the intersection. For the majority of the side yard, we are actually at the 5 meter setback, but the pinch point becomes the corner site triangle. I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, Greg Winters and Robert Tran are also here as the planners from Novatech.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Mr. Walker from the city to provide some comments, please.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Staff has reviewed the application and has no concerns with the proposal.
Thank you very much. We don't have any issues with the conservation partners, so I'd like to ask the panel if they have any questions or comments. Ms. Chandler, any questions or comments? You're mute, yeah.
None, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vervoort, any questions or comments?
I didn't know if anybody else wanted to speak to this, Mr. Chair, but I noticed in the report there was an indication that the application should be amended to read 3.92 meters instead of 3.9. I'm not sure if that needs to be done or not.
Mr. Garfinkel, would you like to have that amended to 3.92? You did make your presentation at 3.9.
Yeah, we had preferred 3.9. I noticed in the staff report that they had crossed it out and written 3.92. Usually the zoning setbacks go only that first decimal place. It allows for, a slight 2 centimeter variance in the field. If staff are more comfortable with 3.92, I have no issue with that 2 centimeters, but again, our preference is just to keep it at 3.9.
Okay. That help, Mr. Vervoort?
Yeah, I'm not sure what planning's position is on that. I guess we should hear from Mr. Walker, possibly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when reviewing applications, both planning and building code services review them based on the plans that's been provided. And so given that the plan, on the plan, the setback is 3.92 meters, staff is of the opinion that the requested variance should be amended to reflect that.
So we will reflect it that way, Mr. Garfinkel?
Yeah, understood.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Otto, any questions or comments? Did not hear you. No, still nothing.
How about now?
Perfect. Can hear you
None.
now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, any questions or comments?
No, nothing at this time. Is there somebody phoned in on this one, or is it a different one? Are you there?
I don't see anybody.
Okay. No, I have no questions.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application with the amendment to from 3 point for the side yard setback or the corner setback to be from 3.9 to 3.92. All in favor, please raise your hand. Your application is approved, Mr. Garfinkel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good morning.
Now we'll move on to application number 2, having to do with 1267 Fairway Drive. Minor variance to permit an increased lot coverage. Proposed to construct a 1-story 2-car garage addition on the east side of the existing 2-story detached dwelling. Mr. Douglas Carnegie, are you available? Oh,
we are.
Good morning.
Morning.
We don't happen to have a statutory declaration on file for your sign posting. I need to administer an oath.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing as instructed and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please proceed with a brief description of your application, sir.
We are looking, as the information presents, we're looking to add a two-page garage to our existing property and repurpose the existing garage into living space.
Thank you. Mr. Mark Young, are you available to make some comments on behalf of the city?
Yes. Just for the record, my name is actually Mark Gordon. Through you, Mr. Chair, there's no objections from staff on this application.
Thank you very much. Don't seem to have any objections from the Conservation Authority either. So I'd like to ask the panel members for their questions or comments. Mr. Lewis, any questions, comments?
All good. Looks like a nice, the plans look really nice. Good.
Thank you. Mr. Otto, any questions or comments?
No problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Vervoort?
None, thank you.
Ms. Chandler?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to ask the panel for approval of this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, Mr. and Mrs. Carnegie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to move on to application number 3, having to do with 4 Meon Court. Minor variances to permit a reduced rear yard setback and an increased lot coverage for the construction of the proposed 1-story addition for the enclosed in-ground pool to be located at the rear of the existing detached dwelling. Mr. Kolitsa, are you available?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Kolitsa, I have to administer an oath because we did not receive a statutory declaration for the sign posting. Are you able to take that oath today?
Yes, I will.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing,
Yes,
as
sir.
instructed, and was clearly visible and legible during that time? Do you swear?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Please proceed with a brief description of your application, sir.
Meon Court was developed by the late Luigi Meon over 20 odd years ago, and purpose of Meon Court was, in a very generous way, was to develop properties that were for his family members. So as an architect, I was engaged way back in the late 90s to develop 2 properties for 2 of his children. And each property was a lot and a half versus a single lot. So the rationale at this stage for the pool addition was for 2 purposes. One was recreational and one was therapeutic for a family member. So we are looking at a lot coverage issue here. I understand from the report from planning that they have no issue with the rear yard setback. We had attempted a whole series of different types of additions, different sizes, different setbacks. And we attended the site with the planner, Sean Moore, and Mr. Hodgkins, and Councillor Carol Ann Meehan twice. And we looked at various options, and we came up with what we thought was the most minimal option to, simply enclose the pool and not have additional space. So we reduced it to what we could. We maximized the rear yard setback. At one point, we were looking for a greater setback on the rear yard, which we did not, which we backed off from. And for the most part, because it's a lot and a half, basically, it's over 50% larger than the standard lot. We start to assess the logic of the lot coverage. So the lot coverage, because it's a lot and a half, we challenged the bylaw in the sense that we didn't feel that the percentage increase was significant, and it was minor, because when a lot gets 50% larger than the standard lot, the bylaw wasn't crafted to, pardon me. The bylaw wasn't crafted to address larger lots. So, and I can see the logic in the percentage control on a lot that is unserviced, as this one is. And I can understand the implications of the impact of someone trying to enlarge a building on a property that is just a single lot. I can understand the concerns for that. So what we did is we engaged Patterson Consultants. We brought a hydrogeologist to the site. We met with Michelle Kearney from the City of Ottawa. And we assessed the existing septic field, and it was deemed that there was no need to adjust the existing septic field. It was fine in its current location, and if the existing septic field had to be removed or replaced in the future, there was plenty of room to do it in its existing locations. It's an echo flow, so there's 2 tanks and a very small field. And it's a very large lot. So on the side yard of the existing house, if you look at the site plan, you'll see the position of the septic field. You'll see the position of the well. So we took dimensions from a survey to ensure that the addition did not encroach in any way with setback issues relative to the existing septic field, setback issues relative to the well. And as you can see from the diagram that we submitted, the colored rendered plan, there's one drawing that shows the, I believe we tried to identify the grass area, the lawn, the existing terrace behind the house, the field, the dimensions to the field, and so on. So there's absolutely no impact whatsoever on the existing site relative to septic or well. And so the hydrologist, both hydrologists were happy. So then we proceeded to look at how we could position the pool relative to the existing house and the link to the existing access to there's a laundry room at the far end of the house and a doorway opening to get to a link to get into the pool. So if you look at the floor plan, you'll see there's a small bathroom, shower, sauna, change room, and then the actual pool. The pool was reduced in size to a 15 by 30. Under the building code, there are specific requirements for apron space around the edge of the pool. The neighbor to the north, where the pool is adjacent to that property line, is a family member. They have no issues with it. The property to the, I guess it would be to the west, would be the Civic Park. The neighbors to the south are well over 150 feet away, so there is no issues with respect. I actually walked their properties. I checked the dimensions from the rear of their homes to the Meon property, and then from the Meon property to the far side of the site to the face of the pool, so that there was sufficient separation. I mean, these are large properties, so the issues of separation are somewhat negligible in a way. There's an existing cedar hedge around the property that is over 20 feet high, that is on all 3 sides. You can't even see from the park into the property. You can't see from any of the neighbors into the property because of the cedar hedge. So there's quite a high degree of privacy, both for the neighbors and for the Meon family on that property. With respect to the 4 tests, we felt it complied in all 4 ways, and that the percentage increase, the actual pool is about 7.37% increase to the existing house, or 7.3% of the property area. So it brings the total to 23.78. We looked at trying to tweak that even further to get it down a little bit further, but at some point there's not much of a pool enclosure left because the percentage to reduce it would be significant. So we discussed that aspect with planning as well, and they felt that, I felt that planning, frankly, was being somewhat impractical in the sense that if you look at our rendered colored plans that we sent yesterday or Monday, the actual impact of the footprint of the pool is so small relative to the size of the property that, in our opinion, it is a minor variance, and it's not it meets the 4 tests. And it's a very practical solution. It's a non-residential extension to the building, which is critical in the sense that a lot of people, when they do expand a building, they will be adding additional occupied floor space. They'll add, a load to the septic field, whatever. In this case, that's not the case. It's an independent pool with, we're not adding any occupancy in that sense. It's being used by the people within the building. So we went to the septic field office as well, and we looked at issues there, and there weren't any. So because there's no living space, they felt, because it was somewhat medically related, that there was no issues as well. So we didn't need to upsize the septic system in any way. So in our opinion, in our professional opinion, this is a minor variance.
Thank you, Mr. Klitsa. Now I'd like to ask Mr. Cameron Hodgins from the city to make some comments on the city's behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The department has indicated no concerns with the proposed rear yard setback. We believe that the proposal can meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. However, for variance B in the lot coverage, the department has indicated some concerns here. And really that's to reflect that this is reflecting a lot coverage for a property that would be serviced. Were the property be connected to a municipal water supply, the maximum permitted lot coverage would be 25%. However, in cases where they are all privately serviced, the lots, the maximum permitted lot coverage is 15%. In the department's opinion, this increase is large in nature, given the floor area added, and does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw, which is to cap the lot coverage for privately serviced properties at a minimal percentage of the property.
Thank you, Mr. Hodgins.
Can
I
we-
believe, sorry,
Okay.
you're muted, Mr. Kalitsa. Do we have a member from the public, a phone call listener that would like to make some comments on this application? Okay, don't believe so. I'd like now to move on to the panel, ask the panel if they have any questions or comments. Ms. Chandler?
Just the question is, you said you had hydrogeological assessment done out there. Are you required to get a Part 1011 permit from the Ottawa Septic System Office in order to proceed with this because you're adding fixtures?
No, we're not.
You're not.
No, we're not. We went to the office in the first instance to see if there was going to be an issue with increasing the size of the septic field, and it was deemed that there wasn't.
Okay.
So the field that's there is fine and it's intact, and there's no issues with respect to adjusting the field relative to this use.
Okay. No other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Vervoort, any comments or questions?
I have no general concerns. I think given the fact that there's a park in behind and that the proposed addition is some over 50 feet away from the nearest residence, I think it's fine. We hadn't heard from the Conservation Authority, so I just wondered if they, my understanding is they have no concerns, but I just wanted to confirm that with Mr. Lalonde.
Sure. Mr. Lalonde, would you like to make a comment?
Yes, if I may, through the chair, the RVCA has no concerns on the application. There's no natural hazards or natural features to comment on. I have spoken with the Ottawa Septic System Office and they had no objections to the application either. I don't know if there's anything else that I could help with.
Thank you, Mr. Lalonde. Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Vervoort?
No, I do understand that it is pushing the limit a little bit regarding the lot coverage, but I guess in my view, given the surrounding fabric of the neighboring lot and the parking behind that, I think it's appropriate in this case and meets the 4 tests.
Thank you, Mr. Vervoort. Mr. Otto, any questions or comments?
No concerns, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
Just a quick, on the plan, I see, what are the dimensions? What is the size of the lot? I couldn't really read it on, the numbers were small. How big is the lot and a half in there, basically what I'm asking?
It's 2,096 odd square meters. So it's, you want that in material?
No, I just wondering the dimensions, like, is it, they wrote there on the bottom, but I can't read them. They're so friggin' small. Is like 100 frontage? I can't really see.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. This lot is, if you go to the, there's another document. Oh yeah. You can
So
see that.
what I can see on one of the drawings is it's 171 feet deep by 129 feet wide.
Okay, so the lot is quite large.
Yeah.
Seeing there's no additional living space being proposed, I'm quite fine with this application support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. At this time, I'd like to ask the panel if they would approve this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, Mr. Kalitsa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now we'll go on to application number 4. Application number 4 is having to do with 1724 and 1720 Grasmere Crescent. Mr. Kufari, are you available, sir?
This is Anna Kufari, his wife.
Good morning, Anna.
Good morning.
We don't have a statutory declaration on file today for the sign posting. I need to administer an oath. Are you able to take that oath today? Good.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing, as instructed, and was clearly visible and legible during that time?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed with a brief summary of your application.
Okay. Basically, my husband and I own a semi-detached existing dwelling, and we'd like to subdivide the properties into 2 separate homes. That's basically the summary of what we want to do.
Perfect. Thank you. I'd now like to ask Mr. Walker if you have any comments on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff has reviewed the proposal and has no concerns with the approval of the applications, subject to the conditions provided.
Ms. Kafari, are you familiar with the conditions that are here today?
Yes, I went through the conditions, and basically our concern is the cost. So we're working on that to find out what it would cost. I contacted Hydro yesterday, and I filled out a request online to get a layout request completed. Mm-hmm. And I guess they will come back and give us a price for that. And then for the the city of Ottawa, with the with the water and sewer, I'm going to have to get a civil engineer to give us a cost on that. Okay. And once we know if it's not over budget, we will continue, and we hope to do that.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any comments from the panel, Mr. Vervoort?
No comments or concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Otto, any questions?
No, I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
No problem with it. As for the cost, if it was up to me, we'd give you a grant for the whole thing there, man. But costs are what they are. So good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Ms. Chandler, any questions or comments?
Nothing further.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the panel for approval of this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is approved, Ms. Kufari. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't believe that there is any further business today, so I would like to adjourn this hearing of panel number 3. Thank you all very much.
Happy St. Patty's.